Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. But first, some very important admin that I need to cover. And first off, please pray for Marlena, who appears to have caught COVID-19. She is taking ivermectin, but if there are any family or friends that you know of in the Krugersdorp area that are in the medical field who could visit her, please contact me so that Marlena, who lives alone, has someone that she can call in case of emergency. Please also pray for 50-year-old William, the oldest of 3 sons from Fiona Tims's older sister, who died from COVID the day before yesterday. Dr. Death, also known as Fauci, is going to pay for what he has unleashed on the world. This is what has become of the reality in South Africa today. Let me show you an image. Kind of sums things up, doesn't it? Well, that's thanks to Garnet who sent me that image. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube and register on lovinglifetv.com, our new censorship-free platform. We have 3 new contributing channels currently being added to lovinglifetv.com. And currently we have 14. The 3 new ones are Michael Tellinger, One Small Town, and EBS. Our aim is to have 50 contributing channels focusing on South Africa on Loving Life TV by the end of this year, making, without doubt, our new lovinglifetv.com platform the largest news of largest source of South African news on the internet. Right, let's get back to tonight's topic. Tonight's guest is Leon Cronje from the Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal. Leon is here to alert the world to the genocidal environment many very poor whites live in South Africa today. Anything that you can donate will be appreciated. Blankets, shoes, clothes, toiletries, and food. Cash donations will go a long way in assisting this wonderful project. The bank details for Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal are in the description below this live stream video. We need an Emily Hobhouse to intercede because those who could financially afford to save lives are not. Now, before I get Leon on, here are some images that he sent me of people in these white squatter camps. It's very, very sad. Here we go. Okay. It's quite tragic what's happening in the world today. It really is quite tragic. I don't know what to say. It's just tragic. Okay. I'm going to get Leon on and we'll get started with the live stream. Give me a second, guys. Hi, Leon.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Excellent. That's better.
Yes.
Yeah, all I could see was your chest. I know it's a big chest, but it's better if we can see your face. It's still too low. Your camera needs to be higher.
Just hold on 1 second.
Okay.
One second.
Just while you're doing that, I just want to welcome everybody who's joining the live stream, and please remember to subscribe to lovinglifetv.com, our new platform that we are transforming to. And we're doing that because we're gatvol with the censorship that takes place on YouTube. But please do continue to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube, because we do put videos up there, but we do put videos up on lovinglifetv.com that we cannot put up on YouTube. That's the difference. All right, Leon, that's much better. I can see you now.
Yes, Scott.
Right. Now, Leon, you're involved with an organization called Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal.
That's correct, Scott.
Yeah, can you tell us about your program, what you guys do?
Okay, Scott, we are Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal. We did started the NPO about 7 years ago. We're running for the 7th year now. And we try to uplift a lot of white squatter camps and also the community as well through visiting at few camps and things like that.
Right. Now, just so people understand, I'm talking mainly for people from overseas. When we talk about
Yes.
white squatter camps, we're not talking about one or two around the country. We're talking about thousands around the country, aren't we?
Yes, that is correct. That if the statistics shows that there is over 1,000 camps, that's all over South Africa, in the Cape, Orange Free State, Gauteng area. That the new name is not anymore Transvaal, but it will be Gauteng area, and also in KwaZulu Natal as well. So our statistics shows also that's about, if you look at it, 745,000 white people in white squatter camps. Most of
Did you
this,
say 700, about 750,000 whites in squatter
seven,
camps?
yeah, plus minus 745,000 people.
That's about 20% of the white population of South Africa, isn't it?
That is true.
That is quite terrible. And the 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 thing that I find very disturbing is that when you consider how perilous the state of South Africa is today because of the way the ANC operate, putting their cadres into jobs where they're incompetent, they don't know what they're doing. And here in a lot of these white squatter camps, you've got very highly skilled white people, engineers, medical people, you name the profession, they're in there. They can't get work because of a thing called black economic empowerment, which is basically a racist employment law. Do you want to tell us about the impact that BEE, as it's known, or Black Economic Empowerment, has had on the white community in South Africa?
Actually, Scott, if you look at BEE, it's actually quite have a quite a big impact on white South Africans, because if you're, to be honest with you, if you don't belong to a PE company, then you won't get any help or support from anybody as well. Just to give you an idea as well, if you look, there's certain companies, even white companies, that have to be, that be forced to be EE, otherwise they won't get any business from other places or over across overseas as well. You have to have about 80% up to 90% of the staff members have to be black in your company to qualify to be BEE. And also, um, what I found a lot around surrounding areas when I speak to some business people as well, um, if you are BEE, and like my company is not BE, then you're not allowed to help a person, a company that's not BE on the internet.
Sorry, could you repeat that last bit? You're not allowed to help?
A white company that's not BE registered as well.
Okay, so when you say you're not allowed to help them, you mean financially, or how do you help them?
Financially, by any way, even like me, our company is a MPO. So if you're not BE, they're not interested to give you any support from such, from the government or anything basic like that as well.
Well, that's a poison chalice, because you are helping a white community, and what you're saying is because you're helping a white community, the government, by policy, are saying that they will not fund you 1 cent. So this is extraordinary. Is that correct? What I'm saying?
Yes, you are correct there, Scott. Um, just to give you a sample, we somebody called us, also quite a big company, a mine company. As soon they heard that we're only helping because your um, um, what's the name, your statistics shows that it's only white and a white squatter camps. Just to give you an example, I think it was some Impala mines or something like that. As soon as they heard that your people that's only white and there's no blacks involved in there, they withdrawn over thousands of donations. Blankets were worth donated to some people, and that was the year before last year that happened. And also, your constitution right says also you can help any person that you, as a non-profit organization, wants to help. So, but as soon as there's people white squatter camps or white people, then they just withdraw everything from A to Z.
So how do you survive?
All our donations is from our own people, not from the government, neither from the churches, neither from chain stores. We did apply with some chain stores like Woolworths a few years ago, and then they told us as soon as the store is going to open, we actually first on the list to be given away all the expired food before the food is expired. Then we will have first option. As soon we gave in all our documents and things like that as well, and the non-profit organization stated Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal, they actually withdrawn basic everything on the end of the day, all donations.
Now, is that Woolworths policy or is that government policy?
I think that will be Woolworths policy because I know out of say around about a lot of white NPOs that do need donations like food or something to help the people on the end of the day. Woolworths doesn't assist any white non-profit organization on the end of the day.
Now, who are Woolworths' main clients that come in and buy from them?
White people on the end of the day, 90%.
Okay, well, don't you think a good answer to what you're just saying is for people to boycott Woolworths and go to a store that does support organizations like yours?
We can do that on the end of the day, Scott, but if it's going to tell people to boycott, it's like Spur. What happened previous years ago, a lot of people did boycott Spur, but we can still boycott Spur on the end of the day because 90% of the buyers is still white. And the end of the day, if you look at around, it's Spur, and if you go take for example Checkers as well. We applied with Checkers, we applied with Spars, we applied with Pick and Pays. There's certain companies, I can't say from Spar or Pick and Pay, I can't really tell you the details because we did try to get it anonymous. They said before, that was last year when we've been in lockdown level 5, they actually supplied buckets of food to help people in the white squatter camps, but we wasn't allowed to name or give a name or anything basic like that because otherwise they will scrap them off the roll of Spar or Pick and Pay. Depends who the company was on the end of the day.
Well, I think that there should be a concerted effort by the white population in South Africa to boycott Woolworths because they have a policy of not providing any of the food to starving whites. I mean, that is policy. Why would you support an organization that is basically being part of the genocide against the poor whites in South Africa? You know, as a white person, why would you support an organization like Woolworths that does that? Clearly, if these other, and I don't care who the franchisees at Pick and Pay or Checkers are, you know, look, don't name names, but hey, at least you got people in those organizations that are coming to the party and providing food to these poor white groups, whereas Woolworths are just saying, nah, you're white, you're too white. We're not going to give you any of the food that's expired. Well, kick them in the bloody teeth. 90% of their clients are white. If everybody boycotted Woolworths, they would come to the party so damn quick. It would be like, that would force them to change their policy.
That will be true, Scott. If you look at on the end of the day, even the staff members, if you walk into any Woolworths Basic in South Africa on the end of the day, they don't get white staff there as well, because everything is basic changed to PE and black, and you're not allowed to, with their policy, they're not allowed to give out to white squatter camps. If you take it in lockdown level 5 as well, a lot of people that heard about where government was, say, in brackets, they wanted to help everybody, and they will pay out a lot of funds if you don't have any food or basic like that. I've been on the field with level lockdown 5 right through till now. And when we started at level 5 lockdown, there was trucks and trucks was sending to rural areas, and like Ventus Post, they actually stop against a road. Just to give you an example, one side was white, the other side was blacks, and the trucks was offloaded with food to the black side. And when the whites was asking food and stuff like that, there was a lot of death threats. A lot of things like don't want to give any food parcels. Actually, that was actually a disgrace of humankind if you look at it as well. If you take the sample for Witbank food parcels was taken away from white children through the SAP of South Africa anyway. And the stories was running all over. A lot of people was talking about it. And I was contacted through government, through the ANC, and they said all donations was given by whites to our organization. We have to send to their warehouse in Johannesburg, and then they will distribute it at the end of the day. And my policy of my company is, whenever a person donates your stuff to you and asks that have to go to your people on the end of the day, white camps, then I just told the guy, any of our donations won't go to the government, because they didn't even give us one parcel since level lockdown 1 of 5 until today.
Yeah, I've heard about that. But for people from overseas who are listening to this program right now and who listen to this later, when this last happened, what we're talking about here, where a certain community was basically ostracized for being part of that community. It was during World War II, before World War II, and it happened to the Jews in Nazi Germany. What's happening in South Africa today has had a precedent, the Holocaust. What you've got happening right now in South Africa, and it's by government policy. This isn't something the ANC are not involved in. The ANC are actually pushing for the genocide of the white population in South Africa. Now, Leon has just told us that 1 in every 4 white people in South Africa live in abject poverty. They live in squatter camps all over the country. I speak to people in tiny little towns, and they've got little white squatter camps where these people live in poverty. It's everywhere. White squatter camps are everywhere, and it's because of the racist employment policies of this ANC government, black economic empowerment. And I can see that Leon's getting emotional, and I'm getting emotional too, because You know, the rest of the world, the mainstream media, the fake news, they're just saying, oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's only white people after all. Now, if there was black people being treated that way, this would be global news all over the world. You know, this is absolutely disgusting. Look, guys, the people who live in South Africa, you need to start a movement. We need to boycott Woolworths. You got to stop going to Woolworths. Even if something costs a little bit more, go to Pick and Pay, go to Checkers, go to your local deli or fruit market. Don't go to Woolworths. Boycott Woolworths. They are part of the problem. Let's show them something that we have had enough. Now, okay, we're talking about specifically the white community in South Africa, and it's not because we're being racist, it's because they are being targeted by ANC policy, and they are facing starvation because supermarkets like Woolworths are refusing to provide expired food to this particular community in South Africa. I mean, those are the facts, aren't they, Leon?
Yes, that's true. Um, Scott, if I also have to mention, since lockdown last year started, about 70% of our own people, whites, that lose also further their jobs. That's not only the poor people that didn't get anything, basic like your middle class people as well. That fall quite hard. They lost a lot of businesses that closed down. There was also promises from the ANC government also that they will funded some of the businesses to keep them up and running, but that was only a lie on the end of the day. If you also take another sample, your lower class white people that can't afford anything like going to school funds, fees and stuff like that. There's certain schools in Gauteng area that we did take some children back to school, just ask them um, to help these children because the moms can't afford and the family can't afford to put them through school. But the schools didn't want to accept them on that there was no funds available for them. But I told them that even if they went to grade six in our terms was standard six, and then they were told they have to leave the school and then have to go work by themselves because they can't afford to go to school. There's no money for them. But if you're 21 or up to about 23 and you're black and then you're still sitting in a school chair and they didn't tell them to leave school on the end of the day. But those people were sitting at 21, 23, still at school, was funded through the government. And that's also bringing a lot of tension in the CBD area of, I'm going to tell you now, will be in community. What we call community is Claremont, Montley, Vredendorp, Newlands, and that is in the middle of around a lot of rich areas. But people drive past those people, but they never see the situation of those people as well. So a lot of people did lose a job. So those people, if you look at the white squatter camps and you're looking at those, the community whites, they're also in the same situation as the white squatter camps where they are living basic, not in a community, but they're living in backyards of people's properties or in back rooms where a whole family of about 10 to 20, up to 20 people staying in a room about the size of 3 meters by 3 meters or 3 meters to up to 9 meters. And then it's a lot of those people is also sleeping with their children on streets as well through summer, winter, and right through the year.
Yeah, but I just think that you know, the Rubicon is Woolworths. Because without without the white community shopping there, that shopping group would collapse. Because, as you say, 90% of the people who shop there are white. Now, they are ostracizing the white people who are poor. I'm actually calling out for people in South Africa to actually stand outside the front entrance of Woolworths with posters saying boycott Woolworths, and having perhaps a brochure that they can hand out to people who come in, which sets out exactly why people should boycott Woolworths and go to other supermarkets. Because just, I think if the white community realized that this was happening, that Woolworths was depending on them shopping there, and then with the expired food, we're making sure that none of that expired food went to the white squatter camps. I think that would be a reality check for most white South Africans, don't you?
Also, will say that's true, Scott. If you look at, just for example, we're talking about Woolworths. On the end of the day, Woolworths is giving, uh, I will say, around about over 10,000 non-profit organization that's black. They're spreading their food before expiring every week, basic on a weekly basis, on a Saturday and a Sunday most of the time. But none of that food is going to any white person on the whole South Africa on the end of the day.
Wow. And
And
you've got a
my
government that
opinion,
is only supporting black people and black charities. So you've got a white community that are totally ostracized. As I said just now, it reminds me of what happened during, uh, well, with Germany under the Nazis. I mean, this is a genocide that has been pushed on the white people in South Africa. Now, tell me about the how the white people in these squatter camps survive. What is life like for them?
Scott, if you take it basic daily by day, most of them live day by day. So some of them is doing some odd jobs like car wash, um, cleaning up people's yards, places, and things like that. You do get quite a lot of different areas. Most of the camps is in Pretoria area as well. And then we also got around Joburg as well, Boksburg, all over basic, because we're going to, on a moment, we can only assist about 20 white squatter camps, but we can try and to assist to help them. But their daily base to live is day to day. If they earn about 50 bucks or maybe 100 rand a day to support their family, that will be a lot of money on the end of the day. But if you look at on them to buy for family to pay for family groceries a day, most of the people won't even be able to afford that, because if you look at bread costs you about 18 bucks, 18 rand a bread. Milk is about 30, 30 rand a bread. So what you're going to live on? So most, it's about two things, basic stable food is like pap and things like that. And then they also, what a lot of people don't know, how these people's are living during the month as well, because they also have to pay rent where they stay. So a lot of people think they're staying for free, but they don't stay for free. They actually staying on different people's places, plots. We call it plots, camps, but they still have to pay the place where they stay. Say it's starting from 800 rand up to about 2,500 rand. Depends how big the family is and how many square meters are getting on the end of the day.
Well, that's appalling that people who've got land are actually putting them under even more financial duress.
That is true.
You know, I can't I can't get my head around how a white person who's got a piece of land that they're not using wouldn't just say, okay, guys, move in because I'm not using it. It's earning me no income. But now here they are gouging from the minimal amount of social security payments that these people get and leaving them with nothing. It is just appalling.
That is true, Scott. If you look at some of the uh, 21 camps who got the eldest person staying in a camp is about 96 years old of age. A few elderly people as well. What is happening as well, they have to pay all the SASSA money to the owner of the plot or the land. And we did that also 2 years ago. A person couldn't afford to pay 700 Rand. The owner of the plot took away the donations of bread was given the previous day. They just took away the bread from them and said they first have to pay to safeguard as well. So we're looking at two options here. On the end of the day. Wherever the people are staying on plots as well, because a lot of people are still losing their jobs, they're phoning us for a place to go stay because they don't have anywhere to go. Otherwise, they have to go stay with their families on street. Especially a lot of mothers, the husband left them as well, where their husbands left so the mom of the kids as well. Then we get the calls all over, and we're trying to get some of these people also into camps. But the camps we're looking after on the moment is actually over full as well, flooded already. We basically don't have a lot of space because the more the people's losing, the white people's losing their works or being retrenched, the more people is getting more poor, and there's no place for them to go or to stay with the kids. And we're not talking about kids that's about 18, 19 years. We're talking about from newborn up to about 10 years. One of our camps we're also looking at in the moment is not Mansfield, because everybody thinks Mansfield is the only camp that does exist, but Mansfield is not the only camp that do exist. You're getting in Krugersdorp West alone, you're getting 3 camps, squatter camps. Mansfield is a camp that is already mixed with the blacks as well. And if I talk about white camps that's only white and not mixed with blacks or any other culture on the end of the day. If you look at the one camp in Krugersdorp West, that's Villa Gloria, there's 325 people staying. 117 of the people staying there are children up to the age of 11, 12 years old. 117 of them. And then to still get your elderly people, and elderly people can't afford or can't get work anymore of these days, especially if you're over 40, you won't get the job in South Africa anymore as well, if you look at it that way. Then most of the other camps is running between 180 people up to about 220 people, and up to 250 people, different camps, different places, and different towns on the end of the day.
Now, have Johann Rupert or Nicky Oppenheimer ever stepped forward and offered you 1 cent?
No. I know the Oppenheimers, or I'm not young, so our three and age way up when I was young, I heard Harry Oppenheimers was actually the richest people on South Africa. But the only thing what we heard the last time of the Oppenheimers, where they donated billions to the government, the ANC government, billions of rand, and most of the funds was stolen, disappeared from Earth. But there wasn't even a cent from the Oppenheimers or from actually richest people in South Africa, like Oppenheimers and friends of them as well. There was not even a cent or donated to us.
Yeah, well, look, for people listening who are overseas, I want to give you an example here. Okay, we have a jamming session on a regular basis on Loving Life, where we get a musician who comes on and sings. And especially during this COVID period, during lockdown, we've had lots of jamming sessions, which has given them exposure, and it's basically given them, a break because they love to perform. Now, what every single one of those white performers experienced in January this year was the exclusion from a huge amount of money that was allocated towards people in the arts, sports, etc. And it was something like 200 million rand that was distributed for people who had lost their business or couldn't work because of the lockdown. There was one exclusion. That is that if you had a white skin, don't even bother applying. It was only applicable for black people. This is the reality of what is happening in South Africa. The same thing happened in tourism. Something like 1.2 or 2 billion rand was allocated for the tourism industry to support B&Bs and places like that that had been impacted by the lockdown. Once again, unless that tourist venture had a triple B, double E rating, which meant unless over 51% of that business was black owned, don't even bother applying for a cent. This is the racist application of donations or government funding to victims of the lockdown. And guess who 90% of the tax that they're using to pay this money comes from? It comes from white taxpayers. There is something very, very wrong when you find a particular group is being excluded. When it's something like poverty, or where it's something like they're in that position where, as a result of the lockdown, they cannot work. And I'll tell you the icing on the cake here, and this is just what Leon was talking about when he's talking about corruption. I mentioned the 200 million rand that was supposed to go out to performers, but of course only black performers. This contractor in Gauteng, who was contracted to actually start distributing some of this money, it's on the record. He distributed 13 million rand to black performers, sportsmen, etc., etc., etc. You know what his contract fee to distribute 13 million rand was? 17 million rand. So for every rand that he actually sent out to a black victim of the lockdown, he kept over 1 rand as his expenses. This is how completely corrupted the system is in South Africa. And the mainstream media in South Africa, they're saying nothing about it. No wonder the country is so friggin' screwed. Now, tell me, Leon, how did most of these people land up in these camps? I guess a lot of it is because of BEE.
Yes, that's true, Scott. If you look at it, it is through BE, and because, like you said before as well, because your skin are white, then you don't well not have a job in South Africa these days anymore. And if you are going more over, the older you get as well, then your chances is about zero on the end of the day to get work in South Africa. That's why a lot of white people is also leaving South Africa on the end of the day. If you have to go work for example, they just started now with the medical aid. Everybody can go to any doctor wherever they would like to go. So if I work and I have to pay 3,500, just for example, for medical aid, and a person that doesn't work, why must he have the same same value that because I'm paying my share of the deal on the end of the day, and then that's how a lot of people also. When I used to work, and a lot of people get retrenched through a lot of work, and especially because if you've been retrenched, and then you as a white person have to start making your work back to a lot of companies, and since lockdown started, I know there was a lot of people losing the jobs, except the people that already didn't have any work, like the white squatter camps, but about 60% of the people that's phoning us every day, basic, that have quite good jobs. They were doctors, they were attorneys, they were some of them running their own businesses as well, because there was no support from anybody as so. Then they couldn't carry on with the businesses, and that's how a lot of people ended up in camps, and also a lot of people ended up in the streets as well. Like I explained earlier on to you, that's a pressure that the government is actually pushing onto the whites as well to get them down. It's the only pressure they can have, to push them further down if there's putting a black person in the job of a white person, because the black person will work for a cheaper labor than a white person on the end of the day. And through lockdown, the salaries was cut in half. And if you didn't want to work for that half a salary, then you don't have to go back to work as well. So you have the choice of, like I spoke to a farmer this morning. I asked him, why don't farmers boycott all chain stores with the fruit, vegetables of the farm murders? And he told me they still have to pay the rent and stuff like that. And if they don't pay the rent and stuff like that, the banks will repossess everything, because they owning farms, they will repossess basic everything. So their hands is cut off as well. So they also have to put up a certain amount of black workers, where I also explained to him this morning, to make it safer. South Africa, didn't he think of maybe take, say for example, 10 or 20 white people from, say, a white squatter camp, put them on the farm. That's going to be more security on the end of the day. Then your farm murders will drop lower. Then there's more people staying on to a farm. And then you can also help people bring from white squatter camps, and help them by working on the farms with different things, because there's a lot of them got quite good skills like mechanical work, that can do actually quite good on a farm, and then they can actually give them work. But most of the people are still losing, as we speak, the jobs still today. I had quite a few people that was retrenched today as well. And it's like the SRL. If you don't want to work, if you don't want to set their salary, then you're not then it just retrench the people basic every day. You don't have a choice. You can't say, you can't take them to any CMA or court of being basic like that. They just, there's no jobs for most of the South African these days anymore. That's how they do land it up on the streets or in white squatter camps. And a lot of people think because they're on street corners. I know there's a lot of people on street corners, and there's a lot of people, white people doesn't really want to work, but there is not really work for them. That's why they basic have to go stay in white squatter camps, and that's why white squatter camps is actually popping up like mushrooms all over South Africa.
Right. Now, just so everybody watching understands, Leon's home language is Afrikaans, and I do appreciate him speaking in English because, he did say, can I speak in Afrikaans? I said, no, we have a lot of people from overseas, we speak in Afrikaans, they won't understand what you're saying. So thank you so much for that, Leon. Now, I want to give a couple of examples of what Leon's talking about here. There's one classic example. It's called a fast food store called Burger King in South Africa. Now, the current owners of Burger King want to get out of the business and sell it to one organization that's put up their hand and said, yes, we'd like to buy it. But the South African government have actually blocked that sale because the buyers of the company, which is currently 61% black owned, so it's triple B, double E compliant, that the new owners are 100% white. And the ANC government has said, no, you're not going to sell Burger King because that's going against triple B, double E. Now, can you imagine what message this is sending out to foreign investors thinking about investing in South Africa? I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, because what they're saying is, yeah, well, come on in, put your factory down in Port Elizabeth or wherever it might be, and then once you've got your factory established, you'll have the bureaucracy knocking at your door and saying, all right, now that you're actually trading, you've got to become triple B, double E compliant. That's the message that has been sent out to investors around the world. This is destroying the economy of South Africa. There's no question about that. Am I right in my suggestion, Leon?
Now you're right there, Scott. That's happening all over South Africa on the moment, and a lot of people do see what is really happening. Like you explained earlier, the media is trying to keep quiet about a lot of things in South Africa. White owner businesses is actually being shut down through lockdown and things like that. And like you also said, the media doesn't want to give the really truth what's happening in South Africa. The message they're sending actually overseas is actually not what's really happening here. They actually turn the message around so the people overseas don't know really what's happening in South Africa, because if they know what's happening in South Africa, on the end of the day, they won't even start the business this time,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, what I found very interesting is that several of the bigger online media companies are actually getting funding from Open Society Foundation, which is George Soros. Now, clearly he's doing that so he can have an influence on what they report. And clearly reporting what's going on in South Africa when it comes to the treatment of the white population is off limits. It's not allowed to be discussed because it goes against the agenda of the global agenda of these nasty white racist people all over the world, and these poor poverty-stricken Africans who happen to reside with them. Now, if you look at the ANC government and their cadres, they are just completely cleaning up, and the victims are not just white, they're black, colored. Most of the population of South Africa today lives in abject poverty. The only people who are making an absolute killing are the ANC politicians and their well-connected mates like tenderpreneurs. And this is why you've got the chaos that is just unraveling in South Africa today. Look, load shedding. Let's look at load shedding. I mean, how can you run a business when you're on stage 5 load shedding? You can't. And this is the whole country is going back to like it was pre-1652, before Jan van Riebeeck got there. You know, that's where the ANC government are taking South Africa. Soon the wheel will be history as well. I mean, that's how bad it's becoming. Now, tell us about the conditions. I'm getting back to the squatter camps because this is like the canary in the gold mine. The canary in the gold mine are the white squatter camps, because here you're actually seeing the fruits of ANC government policy. Tell us about the conditions of people in camps in South Africa.
Scott, if I have to say about the conditions in the camps in South Africa, it will be heartbreaking for a lot of people. We normally say to a lot of people, we're trying to expose on social media what's really happening in the camps and what the conditions just look like. If you take some of the camps, to give you an example, one of our camps is basic in Pretoria as well. There's 120 people staying there using one toilet, one bathroom. So if you 120 people, one toilet, one bathroom, if you have to wake up in the morning, just for example, and everybody is waking up at the same time. So who's going to use your toilet first? You must look at that as well. And if you look at different other camps, the government also cut some of our camps water, and they cut lights as well. We have to drive from Johannesburg up to Pretoria, about 1,000 tons of water to Pretoria. One of the camps was water was disconnected at the level 3 cutoff. That is basically level 3 cutoff is no water supply. If you don't have a borehole that's working, then you won't have water. So, we have to just prepare quite a lot of 1,000 liters of water. We sponsors from all over from did send water and tanks through to help these people for about 2 to 3 months. They were living without water. So we also did expose it to the media as well. But on the end of the day, everything just went dead. We just went to go see some of the tennies that told them they have to put the water back. You're not allowed to cut water off straight. And if you look at the camp that did happened already, that camp is on that stage was about 120 people living there, from newborn babies up to 11 to 12 years old. At the same camp, a person passed away, elderly person passed away. Just give it took the government 3 days to send the ambulance to go fetch the body of the elderly person. The kids actually saw the body for 3 days in a small little zozo, and the body already started blowing up because your closest, some of the camps is so far is about 15 kilometers from the nearest hospital. And if you look at other camps as well, if anything happens to a person in a camp, say for example, have to give birth or a heart attack, then you won't believe it. You won't see any state or anything. There's no clinics around any of these camps as well. We basic on a moment. What we also trying to get is it's like an oxygen machine that's for an elderly person. Just give you that's also don't have money anyway. We've been to the government hospital as well. The government hospital also said there's a waiting period of 4 months, and if they decide they will put her on a list, then she still have to wait another few months to get the oxygen machine. And if you look, what I think that's not fair on the end of the day. If you got emphysema, you need to have oxygen. And if you look at some of the other camps as well, the kids have to walk about 10 to up to about 15 k's to get to the closest school because there's no transport. And if there's transport, they jump about 10 to 15 persons in a car, if they can fit somebody in a car, and then they have to drive them to school. And most of the kids in what squatter camps is going without any like lunch, bread or something to school because their parents can't afford it. And if you look at because like I said previously as well, you look at different camps, different places, and if you look at some other places, other camps, your situation of the camps, it depends what condition the camp is and what is been running through the camp and how they're running the camp on the end of the day. That will give you the, what's the name, on the end of the day, the conditions that's going on the moment through most of the camps. And some of the camps is so down, there's no really support from anybody. So we're trying to uplift those camps as well, because like planting vegetables in some of the camps, start getting them to do something like mechanical work, or you give him some jobs to start selling from the camp, trying to get money to uplift the camp a bit as well. But the conditions is very poor in most of the camps I know in South Africa, and the side of Gauteng and northwest side.
Right. Now Tokolosh raised an interesting comment, which I'd like to address. He says, why the farmers will not employ these people? Is it a matter of them refusing to do this? Please ask your guest. Well, I'll ask my guest in a second, but before I do, my understanding is that a lot of the people who land up in these squatter camps, and they've been there for a long time, and you can understand this, they are so, they're living in such a big hole emotionally, mentally, that they start taking drugs, and that their lives just completely implode. And that's not just the parents. If you consider the education side, a lot of the children who live in these squatter camps do not go to school because their parents cannot afford it. So you've got a whole generation of young white children who are growing up uneducated. They might be able to speak Afrikaans, but ask them to add 4 and 4 and they wouldn't have a clue. This is the tragedy of what's happening right now in South Africa. Do you want to talk to us about what's happening with the kids in the education system, Leon?
Yes, I can also, like I explained to you earlier on, there is certain schools in South Africa, if you can't afford it, you're not allowed to go to school. The cassette, previous few years ago, state that if you can't afford school fees or anything basic like that, then the schools wasn't allowed to tell you you're not allowed to go to school. The cassette of the government previous years, that I think that was in 1994. But even if you take a child to school today and trying to get them into school and they can't afford to pay for anything, then they just tell them straight away, you have to go work. There's no place for you in the school because there's no money or basic like that on the end of the day. And like you said earlier on, children, how they're getting grown up, if their mother and father is staying in a squatter camp, yes, that might be true. But if you look at it, if I'm a child and my mother and father is staying in a squatter camp, I'm going to do the same things because they actually just see the camp. They don't actually really see the outside of the world.
Yeah.
And then whenever we're doing a reach out to some of these camps, there's some of these kids that didn't even see, just for example, a biker's group or a motorbike. They don't even know what it's all about. So if you actually living in a squatter camp and you can't afford to go to school and you start getting the habits of your parents, then I will say in a couple of years there won't be any white South African that's actually really going to be educated on the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that is the reality, that a lot of the kids in these white squatter camps have absolutely no education, and they've got no chance of getting a job in the future as a result of that. Now,
It's going to be reality.
Yeah, we talked earlier about the increasing number of camps, all white squatter camps all over South Africa. Um, how fast are they increasing? Can you give us an idea? I mean, we talk about, that there's over 1,000 white squatter camps around South Africa today. How many were there, let's say, in the year 2000? How's the increase happened?
And if you look at before my figures I did have before 1994, before the new government went into took over South Africa, the ANC took over South Africa. The previous government, actually apartheid government, according to a lot of people all over the world, there was not really white squatter camps. There was basic 1 or 2 or 3 of them, but in about 5 to 7 years, they actually risen up all over. There's not even, they actually building their own squatter camps, even in town as well, places and bushes with a lot of places we don't even know of as well, because some of the camps we did to reach out now recently, about 2 weeks ago, was people staying in the bush. So there's no addresses and things like that. And if I have to take it in, if you look at the Gauteng and in Pretoria area alone and surrounding areas, there's already over 90 camps in the area as well. So if you look at from December this year, people that lose their jobs and things is actually starting new squatter camps all over. The figures is actually climbing so high. My feelings, what I have by the end of this year, I think most of the camps is already over flooded as well. I don't know where is most of the people going to stay on the end of the day, because if you look at so many people losing their jobs in a moment or being retrenched, then the current the rate where the squatter camps is popping up like mushrooms is going to be basic 10 times more than before 1994.
Yeah. Now, it's been very cold in Gauteng over the last few days, hasn't it?
That is true, and all over Northwest the same, in Natal the same. I spoke to a lot of people in Natal, in Pretoria. Pretoria is supposed to be one of the hottest places, and we did a reach out 2 weeks ago there, and it was actually freezing. And if I speak to a lot of people over the phone, that's quite cold all over, not even in Gauteng or basic. It's basic the whole South Africa. And the weather is actually colder than the years before. So this is actually very cold.
Now, clearly, one of the things that you guys need is blankets and clothing and these sort of things. Now, I just want to put you have a Facebook page under the Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal, don't you?
Yes.
Can people actually contact your organization through that and provide donations of clothing and blankets and whatever? Sorry, guys, we just wait for Leon to come back. I've just put the name of the organization, Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal, in the side chat. So if you look for that on Facebook, you'll be able to contact them. Okay. Let's just continue here. How it must be terribly depressing to go into these camps and see what you see. How do you help uplift people in these camps?
Scott, that's actually quite a good question. That's why I said normally, if we're going to a lot of reach out as well, people is most welcome to come join us, to go with, to see the really situation in most of these camps. We're trying to uplift them by word, by empower them that they they can start working again. If that's something, you make a choice. If you want to make a choice, you want to stay like this, then you're going to stay like that on the day. If you make a choice to get out of the camp, say in a month or two, and get a new job or something and do something with your life, then you're going to go a bit forward. We're trying all over where we go to why we are also trying to uplift them is through our sponsors, people that's also phoning us through, giving work to our own people and say they need maybe like a handyman or a farmer. A lady called me the other day saying she will give somebody a work like um, a manager on a farm. They will pay them, they will give him food every day, and he can have a house for free as well. So you got a few options how to try to uplift them, take them out of the poverty where they are in the moment, and also the camp, they have to look after. They can't just throw rubbish in the camp, and you're looking after their health, everything basic like this as well, and trying to get some of the kids to go to school, trying to get them in schools where they're not going to be like if you say you're trying to help some person or something like that, you need to get a lot of people also involved, like psychiatrists, human traffic people as well, because there is a lot of human traffic going on in South Africa on the moment as well, what a lot of people doesn't know about as well, and it's happening in camps as well. If people don't have food or something like that, there is certain camps that they sold the children as well to get a plate of food at the end of the day on the table as well. So we're trying to do basic three things in one step and to help these camps or people on the end of the day.
I just want to repeat one thing you said there, and that is that people are so desperate in some of these camps that they are actually selling their children for food.
Yes, that is true.
No,
That's reality.
that's a reality, guys. I mean, for people overseas who think that, oh, this is a load of BS. People in these white families, they're actually selling their kids so they can get food. That's how desperate they are. This is just, it's awful. Now, okay, I've got a question here from Tokolosh. Now, Tokolosh is one of it's a user's name, and he's often in the side chat. And he said, why are the farmers not helping these white people in the squatter camps?
Okay, that's a good question. Like I also said earlier on, Scott, if you look at it, there's a lot of our people. Um, we also told them if people can go stay on to the farms, start working, they can earn a salary, things like that. But now, if you're not BEE 90% on your farm as well, then people won't be able to assist you on the end of the day of the white squatter camps.
Right. Okay. Now, Nicolene has said, will these people be able to fill products? I think what she means is, will they be able to fill boxes or, do basic menial jobs? And I guess the answer there is yes, of course.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of people on white squatter camps. You must remember, we're talking also about very educated people that landed up in white the camps is like I previously said, there was one of the camps at Tennyland up there, and he left after 3 months because he lost everything as well. So then he went back, and then there's a lot of other people that's willing to go do anything for work. You do get, you also mentioned something very earlier on, that there is a lot of drugs going on in the camps. As far as I know, most of the camps, white squatter camps, what I know, is actually clean of drugs. If that's only your camps that's mixed with the other cultures that's using drugs and things like that, because most of the camps, on the end of the day, they're trying to keep the people that's using drugs out of the camps. So those is the type of people you're going to see on a street corner or walking around trying to get money in what's the name. But most of our camps is children, elderly people. You do get a husband and wife in a, say, in the middle age of about between 20 to about 40. That's about 20 to 30%. But your other 10 to 20% is elderly people and children. And the people that's in camps, there is quite a lot of people that's all willing to get a job or going to work. But there are certain stances in South Africa that the government make it so difficult for these people to go get a job or anywhere where they want to go work.
Right. Now, I just totally flummoxed about this whole situation, because the Loving Life channel, we've actually been supporting the white squatter camps for years now. We were doing this big time a few years ago with Patrick Fisher and oh gosh, a fantastic farmer from Bultfontein, Davy Oosthuizen, a lovely man. And, you know, they were providing food and stuff like that. Now, since that time, these white squatter camps have probably doubled in number. And
Yes.
what has actually been a contributor has been the lockdown. And I'll give you an example. One of our resident, we call them like resident musicians or resident priests or resident IT guy, you know, it's just like part of the Loving Life family. And the guy who writes the theme song for my live stream, Winston Kutsia, we call him our resident musician. About this time last year, he was at a point where he was literally going to have to leave his family home because he had no income because of the lockdown, and he was going to have to move into a squatter camp. And through the generosity of people within Loving Life, and Fiona Timms comes to mind there in particular, he didn't have to, basically, and he was able to survive in a proper home until he started getting work again, and now he's obviously things are getting slightly better. But you know, people who are very respectable, people who once had really good jobs, they've got great skills, are now living in these white squatter camps. It could be anyone who's watching this live stream right now in South Africa who's impacted by losing a job, suddenly having no income, and then having to be forced or having to take their family into one of these environments, which are awful. And the thing that really annoys me, there are two things really annoy me. The first one is that the ANC government refused to help the very poor whites. They won't give them 1 cent. They've got their noses so deep in the trough stealing that you know, they don't care about anybody else. And the other thing that really annoys me is the fact that you raised tonight about Woolworths, you know, that they won't provide any of their expired food to the white squatter camps, despite the fact that 90% of the clientele is white. And that to me is just smacks of Ah, it's just so hypocritical. And I hope that people who are listening to this live stream tonight will take up the cudgel and go and protest outside the entrances to Woolworths and have brochures to hand out explaining why you're calling for people to boycott Woolworths. Now, I'm going to just ask you one final question and then we'll wrap up this live stream, Leon. And that question is,
Yes.
how can people who are listening here tonight assist you? Now, we have got your banking details in the description below this video, so people can obviously put money in there if they want to, or they can donate clothes or food or toys, all those sort of things. Please, over to you.
Scott, to assist us, that's all help is very welcome from anybody. That will only be our own people on the end of the day. Is say, for example, it's like you or a friend of mine or another person that's seeing the really heartbreak into camps. If you take it like you said early on, it's quite cold. Um, we're battling to get blankets and food on a moment for these squatter camps. If you go out most of the time, a lot of these children is going without food to bed for the next day or for a week. There's certain days some of these children and girls going without food anyway. So food is quite welcome. Even if there's farmers out there that's willing to give us like potatoes, just for example, vegetables, anything basic like that. Financial is also quite very important because we're traveling quite a lot to different white squatter camps. So we basically used to also purchase food as well. If you look at our paperwork and things like lockdown through, lockdown 5 up to now, we went to Makro and those places. We bought food parcels. If you go onto our website as well, our food parcel is about up to about 500 rand. Tins food, everything is put in there that keeps a family up to about 2 weeks and not starving to death on the end of the day. Clothing is also quite welcome. Unwanted goods, building materials, to uplift some of the camps just to build some more new houses on the property as well. So basic anything you can think of is most welcome. And I think a lot of people, if they see the need really in what's happening in a white squatter camp, even if they go spend one day there and see the need there, then that will make a very big difference from from your heart to somebody else's heart. The difference is actually quite big there. If you can see, if a kid smiles, if you put something into his hand and he actually never saw something like that before, or toy or something like that. So it's up to the people that's listening on a moment what that's being put on their hearts to help with. That's what I can say.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I just go back to the simple comparison of what happened in the late 1930s in Germany to a certain community, and you now compare that to what is happening to the white community in South Africa. You join the dots, and as we said a couple of times during this live stream, the mainstream media in South Africa are completely ignoring this very, very important subject. And, they should be ashamed of themselves. And, I'm not surprised when you look at who actually owns conglomerates like News 24 or DSTV, Enka, the South African Television Corporation. You know, it doesn't fit their agenda to report on how the white community are being completely ostracized by this corrupt ANC government. And, they should hang their heads in shame. Now, Leon, is there something you'd like to just say in wrapping up the live stream to people listening now who might watch later?
Yes, Scott, I just want to say thank you very much for everybody that did join us tonight. And if they also can expose from their side as well, what is the situation in running in South Africa, we will appreciate that as well. And if there's any donation, most welcome. And also, like I also said previously, if anybody knows of somebody with an oxygen machine that's going to help a person, we also in need quite urgently as well. We're trying to phone all over, but they're starting up from about 20,000 Rand upwards. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that did join tonight, and they must just try to see the reality, what's really happening in South Africa. And if they can join us, they're most welcome. They can go onto our Facebook page, Boere Gemeenskap Transvaal. We're doing everything live these days so that people can see the reality, what's going on, and that the media is hiding quite a lot of things away. Except like us speaking to you tonight, and you trying also to let people see what is really happening in South Africa, and that the ANC government and the change stores doesn't are interested in to help white people. So the only help we're going to get is from our own people on the end of the day. And normally what I say is our children is actually getting forgotten children on the end of the day, because nobody wants to know about the poor white child or poor white person on the end of the day. So people must just trying to see the reality in South Africa, and trying to expose and show to other people really what's happening here around with the watch the camps, and that we are in need of everybody's help on the end of the day. And thanks to you also, Scott, for giving us a chance to go live on and trying to expose what is really happening in South Africa.
Leon, you're very welcome, and you know, from the Loving Life family, please keep up the fantastic work that you do. You know, it's people like you that offer help or hope to people in these squatter camps. It must be a terribly depressing environment for people who live like that, and it's a shocking indictment of this corrupt ANC government. It's very, very sad. But thank you for joining us tonight. And just finally, guys, please remember, I'm just going to drop in the name of the Facebook page. You can contact Leon through his Facebook page if you got donations you'd like to make, and blankets, toys, whatever, that are just sitting at home taking up space. They would find a very good home in these white squatter camps. Alrighty, thanks Leon, and please keep in touch, and have a great evening.
And same to you, Scott, and thank you to everybody that did join tonight as well on your program as well.
Thanks, Leon.
Okay, right. Keep up. Bye.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live stream now. Please, if you got any ability to donate, please do so. As I said, I've just put the name of the Facebook page in the side chat. And I'll leave the side chat open for a few minutes so you can say your goodbyes, and take care. Have a great evening. And don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we will be having another live stream. Bye for now.